Welcome back to our private archives, confidential listeners. Before we dive into the conclusion of this journey, we must look back at the ashes where it all began. Last time, meet Daniel, a man who pulled a girl named Angel from the cold Chicago pavement after she was discarded like trash by a violent client. What started as a rescue turned into an all-consuming passion. Daniel saw a light in Angel that she had long forgotten. He brought her into his world, even introducing her to his family during a Sunday lunch that felt like a miracle. But on Monday, the miracle shattered. A single phone call turned the warmth into ice. Angel's voice was filled with a sudden, brutal hatred, leaving Daniel standing in the rain, clutching a silent phone and a broken heart. Tonight, we find out why the angel fell back into the mud and if love is enough to drag her out one last time. This is Angel in the Ashes, The Price of Redemption, Part 2. So, close the door, turn down the lights, and listen closely, because the audience for this truth is only you. The silence that followed Angel's hang-up was louder than any shout. I stood there, in the middle of my living room, the city of Chicago stretching out beyond my window like a graveyard of lights. I stared at the phone. I spent the next 48 hours in a state of clinical despair. I walked through my apartment, seeing her everywhere. The way the light hit the sofa where she sat, the lingering scent of my sandalwood soap she'd used, the small smudge of lipstick on a glass I couldn't bring myself to wash. Every few minutes, the hope would surge, and I'd check my phone. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe she was scared. I sent messages that felt like prayers sent into a void. Angel, please, talk to me. If I did something, just tell me. I can fix it. I watched the screen. One check mark turned into 2. She was reading them. She was sitting somewhere in this vast, cold city, watching me beg and choosing to stay silent. It felt like a slow-motion car crash, knowing the impact was coming but unable to move out of the way. I was a man losing his grip on reality, never suspecting that the hand that pushed me was my own brother's. Friday arrived with a gray, suffocating fog that rolled in from Lake Michigan. I was sitting at my kitchen table, nursing a cold cup of coffee, when my phone buzzed. It was Roselli, my sister. She was the anchor of the family, a woman of suburban routines and unwavering decency. Her voice, usually soft and nurturing, sounded like a serrated blade over the line. Daniel, we need to talk about that girl you brought to Mom's house, Angel, or whatever her real name is. My grip tightened on the phone. Daniel, her name is Angel Roselli, and she's the woman I love. No, Daniel, she's a professional. Adrian recognized her. He spent enough time in the back rooms of River North to know a face like hers. He saw her on a site, Ethan. He knows the price, and he told her exactly what we think of her. I felt a sudden, violent coldness spread through my chest. The room seemed to tilt. Adrian, my brother, the golden boy who played at being a businessman while hunting for thrills in the city's shadows. He hadn't just recognized her, he had weaponized our family's judgment to destroy her. In that moment, the reason for her sudden hatred became clear. She didn't leave me because she didn't love me. She left me because she thought I was the one who had unmasked her. I didn't wait a single second to hang up on my sister. My fingers were shaking so violently I almost couldn't dial Adrian's number. The rage I felt was a physical thing, a crushing pressure in my chest that felt like it would burst my ribs open. Adrian picked up on the second ring, his voice relaxed, carrying that smug tone of a man who just closed a successful business deal. Hey man, I figured you'd be calling. Listen, Daniel, I did you a favor. That girl, she's a threat to our image. I called her and laid it all out. I told her Mom already knows everything, and I let her know I've seen her face in places she shouldn't be. She knows she doesn't belong in our world, brother. She's gone back to where she fits. Who do you think you are, Adrian? You haunt the same club she does. You're just as filthy as any client who ever touched her. You had no right to call her, no right to touch my life. I have the right to protect our name. She's trash, Daniel, and you don't bring trash to our dinner table. Forget that woman before you become the pariah of this family. I hung up. There was nothing left to say to him. At that moment, I realized that my own blood, my own family were the true monsters. They didn't see her soul. They only saw a mistake they wanted to erase. I had to find her. I had to tell her that I wasn't part of their cruelty, even if I had to burn every bridge I owned to reach her. I stormed out of my apartment like a madman. Chicago was under a thin, acidic drizzle, the kind of rain that penetrates your bones and turns the skyline into a blurred charcoal sketch. I drove toward the rural fringe of Illinois, where her aunt's house sat in a cluster of forgotten properties. It was a place where fences were broken and the smell of wood smoke hung heavy in the damp air. I hammered on the door, my knuckles raw. Her aunt finally opened it, her eyes weary and clouded with deep-seated suspicion. She's gone, Daniel. She told me she didn't want to bring her trouble into my house. She said she didn't belong here with good people. She went back to the city, said she was going to find Selma. My heart dropped into my stomach. Selma. I knew that name. Selma was the friend Angel used to work with, the bridge back to the life she had promised to leave behind. Please, I need to find her. I love her. I'm not like the others. The aunt looked at me for a long time, then handed me a crumpled piece of paper with an address in the South Side. I ran back to my car, the engine roaring to life like my own desperation. I was heading into the heart of the city's shadows, praying that the Chicago night hadn't already swallowed her whole. The South Side of Chicago felt different that night. The further south I drove, the more the polished glass of the loop gave way to rusted iron and boarded-up windows. I pulled over under the flickering light of a liquor store and called Selma. The background noise on her end was a chaotic symphony of booming bass and glass breaking against a brick wall. Who is this? How did you get this number? My name is Daniel. I'm the man who was with Angel on Sunday. Listen to me, Selma. My brother lied to her. He humiliated her. She thinks I betrayed her, but I would die for her. I need to see her. There was a long, static-filled silence on the other end. I could hear Selma breathing, weighing my soul through the speaker. Finally, her voice dropped an octave. She's here, Daniel, but she's not the girl you took to your mama's house. She's got her mask back on. She's getting ready to go out. If you aren't here in 20 minutes, she's gone to a client in the North Side. This is her world, baby, not yours. I didn't even say thank you. I slammed the car into gear, weaving through Chicago traffic like a man possessed, fighting a clock that was ticking toward the end of her soul. The building was a decaying brick fortress on a street where the shadows seemed to move on their own. The lobby smelled of stale sweat and industrial cleaner. I took the stairs 2 at a time, my heart hammering against my ribs so hard it felt like it would crack. When I reached the 4th floor, I found the door to apartment 4B slightly ajar. I pushed it open and stepped into a world that felt like a punch to the gut. The air was thick with the scent of cheap hairspray and the metallic tang of an old radiator. I walked down the narrow, dimly lit hallway until I saw a sliver of light coming from the bedroom. There she was, Angel. She was sitting in front of a cracked, stained vanity mirror, her back to me. She was applying a heavy, dark eyeliner, a sharp contrast to the soft, natural look she had worn on the porch only 2 days ago. She was wearing a dress that was too short, too tight, a uniform of stone and silk. "I told you to stay away, Daniel. I'm a big girl. I know how to pay my bills. Go back to your white picket fence family and find yourself a proper wife. I have work to do." Seeing her like that, preparing herself to be touched by strangers, it was a vision of my own personal hell. I stepped into the cramped room, the floorboards groaning under my weight. I didn't stay by the door. I walked right up to her, forcing her to look away from the mirror and into my eyes. "I don't want a proper wife, Angel. I want you. I don't care about what Adrian said, and I don't care about the clubs or the websites. That's not who you are to me, and you know it." "It is who I am, Daniel. Look at me. Your brother saw me. Your mother knows. To them, I'm just the trash you picked up off North Avenue. You were just a client who didn't want to pay, remember? That's all this was." She was lashing out, trying to cut me so deep that I would run away and leave her to her misery. She was trying to protect herself by destroying the only good thing she had ever known. But I wouldn't let go. I grabbed her hands, smearing the dark makeup on her fingers, refusing to let her hide behind that mask for one more second. I didn't use words anymore. Words were what my family used to hurt her. I pulled her to her feet and kissed her, a kiss that tasted like salt, cheap lipstick, and 1,000 unsaid apologies. She fought me at first, her fist thumping against my chest like a trapped bird, but then her resistance shattered. She let out a sob that seemed to come from her very soul and clung to me as if I were the only solid thing in a world made of smoke. We fell onto that small, sagging bed, and for the next hour, the south side of Chicago disappeared. We made love with a desperate, burning hunger that felt like a baptism. I wanted to wash away the touch of every man who had ever paid for her, every cruel word my brother had ever whispered. When we finally lay there in the dim light, the neon sign from the liquor store across the street casting red shadows on the ceiling, I whispered into her hair, "Pack your things, Angel. We're leaving, and you're never coming back to this room again." The drive back to the West Loop was silent, but it wasn't the heavy silence of Monday. It was the quiet of a war that had finally ended. Angel sat in the passenger seat, her small suitcase in the back, staring out at the Chicago skyline as if she were seeing it for the first time. I realized then that I wasn't just taking her to my apartment. I was taking her into a future that neither of us had dared to dream of. I looked at her, the makeup finally washed away, leaving only the woman who had captivated me from the moment I saw her on that cold pavement. "From this moment on, Angel, no man in this world touches you but me. You're my wife, my partner. We're going to build a life where the shadows can't reach us." I knew my family would call. I knew the judgment would continue. But as I held her hand while crossing the bridge into the heart of the city, I realized I didn't care. I was losing a family of blood, but I was gaining a family of soul. A year has passed since that night. The seasons in Chicago have changed, and so have we. We moved to a quiet corner of the city, away from the neon and the noise. Angel is working now, a real job where people respect her, where they see the light in her eyes instead of the price on her head. And every morning when I wake up and see her sleeping beside me, I am reminded that miracles don't always happen in cathedrals. Sometimes they happen in the gutter. We are expecting our first child in the spring, a little girl. I want her to grow up in a world where she never has to hide, never has to feel like she isn't enough. My brother Adrian, he's still chasing shadows in River North, trapped in a cycle of hollow thrills. He thinks he won because he kept the family name clean, but I'm the one who won. I found a diamond in the ashes, and I had the courage to keep it. Love didn't just bloom in the mud, it turned the mud into the foundation of my entire world. And that concludes the archive of Daniel and Angel, a story that reminds us that the past is a ghost that only has the power we give it. Daniel sacrificed the approval of his blood for the survival of his heart, a choice that many would fear to make. If this journey of redemption has stayed with you, please leave a like on this video and subscribe to our channel. Help us continue to unbox these hidden truths from the secrets inbox. Click the bell icon so you never miss the next entry. But now, a final question for you, our confidential listeners. Do you believe love is truly enough to erase a traumatic past, or are some scars meant to stay? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Because in a city as cold as Chicago, the only thing more dangerous than a broken heart is the one that's afraid to be healed. Until next time, stay safe and keep your secrets close. Good night.